I dey off in mind. Mayegun làwa mọ̀ làmọ̀ tó dòdòdò. Mayegun diary, Mayegun number one.
Hello there.
Mayegun làwa mọ̀ làmọ̀ tó dòdòdò. Mayegun diary, Mayegun number one. Mayegun ti dé.
Good morning to you, good afternoon to you, and good evening to you from wherever you are watching from. This is Mayegun Live.
Gbogbo bó ṣe ń lọ ni Mayegun já wa sí. Àṣírí ọ̀jẹ̀lú kì í bò níbẹ̀ o. Bó bá ṣe àní Mayegun máa wí.
Thank you so much for joining me. Share this broadcast. Invite your friends. Invite your not so friendly friends and tell them that Mayegun today. Oh.
Mayegun diary political. Mayegun diary Godfatherism kò sí lọ́rọ̀ Mayegun. Mayegun diary ẹ fara balẹ̀ sẹ́ o kẹ́kọ̀ọ́.
Share this broadcast.
Mayegun diary àní Mayegun làwa mọ̀ tó dòdòdò. Mayegun diary.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. Thank you.
Àní ẹ̀sùn rákì. Mayegun ti dé. Mayegun ti dé. Ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn rákì. Mayegun ti dé. Àní ẹ̀sùn rákì. Mayegun ti dé. Lórí Facebook.
Yeah.
Mayegun ti dé. Àní ẹ̀sùn rákì.
Thank you. Read the caption of this broadcast, yeah? Read the description of the broadcast as well. And you can relax first. Come on, yeah? Do the following, right? Read the caption, read the description, like the broadcast, share it. If you haven't subscribed onto Mayegun's Diary Political YouTube, subscribe, then sit back. Relax, eh? We are going to get into the mood. Warming up. Wahala today, no matter how they try to pretend it or they try to like disguise it. Problem tiwa, and it is just the starting. Tell them. Thank you. Once again, good morning to you. Good afternoon to you. Good evening to you. Depends on the time you are watching this. This is Mayegun Live. You went to bed last night with oh no, I think it wasn't before. Well, anyway, doesn't matter. You woke up yesterday morning to the recorded broadcast of Buhari, the GCFR, the Grand Commander of the Fulani Republic of Nigeria, where he asserted his authority and said, listen, Supreme Court to call, Supreme Court to knee. You are allowed to spend 200 naira and then wait till you get your hands on the new notes of 500 and 1,000. Sefini, Shikena, anybody we know they okay with time, eh? You can go and deal with that. Immediately he dropped that. He flew out of Nigeria. He said they are going for AU summit in Ethiopia. So from the moment he dropped the bombshell, something that others said if they are going to follow it through and make the 200 naira old note available, maybe, the old anger, frustration that Nigerians are facing right now, maybe that would kind of subsided before their elections. But it didn't subside though, ladies and gentlemen. What happened after Buhari gave his Grand Commander of the Fulani Republic of Nigeria? The first person to respond was the Kaduna Little Finger, Rufai, who is now declaring republic inside republic. Do you know one of the problems of Nigeria? That a lot of the people pretend to ignore. I'll tell you. It is the foundation where this current Nigeria is built upon, where people are still forced with the use of arms or guns to accept that they consented to the every word inside that 1999 constitution. The genesis. You see, that 1999 constitution is a constitution made by the military and with absolute power for whoever is in charge of Nigeria. When I say absolute, I mean absolute. But let me explain what that absoluteness means. You have three arms of government: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. The purpose of this was meant to be to put in place what they call the checks and balances. The executive is now invested with 92% of absolute power in that 1999 constitution. So what happened is this: every president in Nigeria by 1999 constitution is a dictator, a tyrant that can get away with a lot of things that gets you angry. So what happened? The executive executes, the judiciary interprets, the legislature makes the law. Now, these are meant to be institutions that were supposed to be filled with honorable men and women, because any single lapse is going to create anarchy, chaos. And you also have three, what do they call that one again? Oh, the one for federal, states, and local government. One is 3 arms. The other is 3 tiers. Okay, hang on. The 3 arms of government in Nigeria are executive, legislature, and judiciary. The 3 tiers of government in the pseudo-federal system of government they pretend to be practicing in Nigeria, then you have the federal, you have the states, you have the local government. Again, the constitution that created all of them now invested 92% of that power in the executive on the one arm, on the one arm of government. The same executive, hang on, I think this is, I want to fix this, flickering image, okay? I'll be back. Don't go anywhere.
We will work with you to build a Nigeria that is not corrupt. I bring you a message of hope.
We are going to to spend a lot of resources on education.
We will work with you to build a Nigeria that is not corrupt. I bring you a...
So, in the first arm of government, the executive controlled by the presidency, controls over 90% of the power. Even if the lawmaker makes laws, if the executive feels like they don't want that law, do you get that now? Boom. That's it. It's never going to be a law. Now, if the legislatures make laws and the executive, that the executive rejects the law, right? The executive, the presidency, can, after vetoing it, he is now empowered with what they call the executive order. So his own executive order overrules the entire National Assembly, right? According to 1999 Constitution. Now, if they are now feeling like, oh, the executive is acting to this or that, and they approach the judiciary, in that same judiciary that you expected to be filled with honorable men and women, they are filled with corrupt criminals as well. Their careers is laced with corruption before they get to that stage. Here you get. Now, if the judiciary now decided to side with the lawmakers and compelling the executive to do that the lawmakers are asking, the same constitution still give that same presidency the power to overrule all of them. And that is what is now happening now. Something that a lot of people are now kind of asking, let us restructure. What is the meaning of federal system of government when federating units are only autonomy? I mean, so they are only autonomous in words, every one of them, because you know something. The same executive, the same presidency that controls, listen to this, they controls the currency, they controls the defense, they controls the immigration, they controls the police, they control, what else again? Like, when I said 90%, they control almost everything. Okay? Now, at their own discretion, they can decide to say, okay, let us open up this area for a commercial purpose to develop them. Or no, we will never do it. That's how much power we do. And nobody will dare do anything, right? Now, for 23 years, they have been hiding behind amending an amendment and the rest. So, supposed autonomous states are at the beck and cause of the same presidency by the virtue of 1999 Constitution. The money you have in Nigeria, the federal government of Nigeria can say they are all illegal now, no value. That's exactly what will happen. They will become no value. No branch of any part of Nigeria can try anything outside that without feeling the pang. If the person at the center chooses to bite, you know what will happen? Ordinary proclamation, state of emergency. We put all of the gra-gra, all of the loud mouth, and everything that you're probably going to witness in the coming days can put them to rest. But what they can no longer prevent, some said they are doing this because they want to make you poorer, and at the end of the day, you end up voting for APC, blah, 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 blah. Maybe they are planning that, maybe they are not, but you know something? The entire arrangement, the Buhari that wanted to deal with his own party members, right, by then unleashing hardship on the rest of you, as well as they who are also fighting back, knowing that the whole thing was plotted against them. Therefore, they are going to what? They are going to also fight back. Now, at the end of the day, Baba, the only thing they can control is the anarchy. the lawlessness that is looming, they won't be able to control that. You know, when you have a keg of gunpowder, frustrated, impoverished Nigerians, terrorized and, brutalized Nigerians who have been so traumatized that they can't even express themselves the way they feel about their country and their government without going missing. Now, this is the keg of the gunpowder. These criminals, they have just ignited it. By the time, if they are playing games or playing drama, by the time they recover from that, they will have nothing left called control. Ladies and gentlemen, immediately Buhari made that order yesterday. You know what happened? Hell Rufai called the cameraman. And right before our very eyes, APC governors and their states, they are declaring republic inside republic. And pay attention very well. The crisis and all of the protests that you are witnessing now, and the ones you are still going to witness, right? You will realize that they are going to be happening in APC control states. Pay attention to them, because that's the next phase. Today, Buhari has ordered the military into Lagos. People have already started seeing their trucks in Lagos. He has already ordered the same military to start going to places like Kaduna, Kogi, they are already on red alert. Because you know what happened? El Rufai, declaring republic inside republic, said the Nigeria old notes, they will remain legal tender in Kaduna and all APC controlled states. He mentioned them. And he said they will remain legal tender for as long as they want. 100 years or more. Keep your money. Don't go and give your money to central bank. Don't rush and panic or anything. Are you with me? He made a declaration like a president of republic. That should be a treason, right? That is now putting the test to the trailer or the train that just passed their midst. Whether then they play, whether they're serious, it is about to get down. When you say gang, that is El Rufai. El Rufai accused Buhari of sabotaging Nigeria economy with that monetization. This change of money policy. He accused Buhari of treason, of committing treason against Nigeria because of his personal vendetta, political interference. He accused Buhari. Listen to this, you listen to it and laugh. These are serious stuff, and the shit is about to go down. Trust me. He accused Buhari. Why am I using Buhari here? Is that he is saying, they are still pretending, they are saying people around Buhari is dumb, Buhari is stupid, because people around him convinced him. In fact, they deceived him to do what he is doing. And according to El Rufai, APC governors, they need to save democracy from Buhari. Buhari is about to destroy democracy. He said, he accused Buhari of planning interim national government. He is accusing Buhari that Buhari is planning not to conduct election. He is accusing Buhari of planning a coup. You see, all of these things you are witnessing, this is between APC and APCO. So if this was a military government in Nigeria, it would be called a mutiny. That means a mutiny within the rank and file or palace coup. In the military parlance, you can call it a palace coup. Members of APC are trying to use the Supreme Court of Nigeria to fight the president of their political party of the country, who is a member and leader of their political party, right? And they are accusing him of treason. I hope when we wake up tomorrow morning, a lot of people will pick up what I've just said. That's exactly what El Rufai is accusing Buhari of. Buhari is acting, Buhari is, what do you call it? Buhari is committing treasonable felony, crime. And because of Buhari's crime, Nigeria economy is going to crash. And because of Buhari's crime, there is going to be anarchy in Nigeria. Because of Buhari's crime, democracy is now in danger in Nigeria. Because of Buhari's crime, there may be no election in Nigeria. Because of Buhari's crime, there may be a coup d'etat in Nigeria. Because of Buhari's crime, there may be a government of interim national government in Nigeria. All of these allegations were being made by APC governor. And he said they are doing all of this to stop Tinubu from becoming president. It is two-way propaganda, ladies and gentlemen, before you listen to the broadcast, okay? The entire thing don't collapse. The center can no longer hold. Okay? Northern Nigeria have been told to go and align behind Atiku. This message is something that people were banking on Boko Haram's 12 million votes in Northern Nigeria. They are now saying that they now believe there is actually no 12 million votes anywhere for Tinubu. The governors that are backing Tinubu up north, they are being called liars who are only out to milk Tinubu. The story of Tinubu paying them and all of the drama you are seeing, the mobilization you are seeing up north, right? That they will never turn to any vote because the governors are only putting up the show up north. That is no longer, you know what they say, the north, fear not. You know, the northern APC governors, they told Tinubu that he should fear not. But when he crossed the border and got down across the Niger, down to the south, people interpreted to him that it is actually fear north. Fear the north. Anyway, as the whole drama is now acting up, the Rufai gang are now going for the last broke, which is Palace School. What Rufai did, if anybody from southern Nigeria, any governor from southern Nigeria, APC or no APC, should try that. You would have heard them, they will call for what you can agree to be the emergency Northern Elders Forum meeting within hours, if what Rufai tried. But this is called Palace School. And as we have been told, it be like say, it is going to be a showdown. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is what Rufai told the people of Kaduna, and of course, entire state controlled by the APC. Let's start with this.
Kaduna State, I wish to express our deepest regret at the needless suffering you are enduring as a result of the prolonged fuel shortage and the difficulties occasioned by the so-called currency redesign policy of the Central Bank of Nigeria. We understand your pain. I assure you that as your state governor, I've been working with my colleagues to do everything in our power to end these pains, while publicly supporting what appeared to be a beneficial policy. We innocently engaged privately with the President and the leadership of the Central Bank of Nigeria to review the implementation of the policy so as to reduce its negative impact on the lives and livelihoods of our people and end the pain being inflicted on citizens. In the absence of any progress to modify implementation on the part of the architects, we were forced to go public about 2 weeks ago with our concerns and demand that this suffering must stop. We take seriously our duty to protect ordinary people from the consequences of these policy fiascos. The sad fact is that the victims of these mindless policies are the people that elected us. It is their welfare that is being threatened. Many of our people have been left in a situation where the money they put in banks has literally been confiscated, depriving them of the ability to buy food and basic necessities. Our traders cannot sell as much as they used to because their customers have no access to their hard-earned money. We've been officially informed that the currency redesign policy is to reduce money laundering and render useless stashes of high-denomination naira that many politicians and public officers have accumulated through corruption and other illicit activities. As earlier stated, we are fully in support of such a policy, and we made this public from the very beginning. We had privately expressed concerns about the timing of the currency design policy and the unrealistic timeline for its implementation. We were assured that all steps have been taken to ensure that we avoid the recent experience of India, where implementation of a similar demonetization policy targeted at politicians ended up hurting the poorest and small businesses the most. In official briefings to the President, the Central Bank of Nigeria constantly alluded to the fact that the policy also targets politicians who have accumulated a huge war chest for vote buying during the forthcoming elections. It is now clear that the President has been deceived by the Central Bank of Nigeria and some elements in his government into buying into this overarching narrative in the name of ensuring free and fair elections in 2023. It is important for the people of Kaduna State, and indeed Nigeria, to know that contrary to the public announcements and apparent good intentions, this policy was conceived and sold to the President by officials who completely lost out in the gubernatorial and presidential primaries of the APC in June 2022. Once Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu emerged as the candidate in June 2022 and subsequently did not pick one of them as his running mate, this currency redesign policy was conceived to ensure that the APC presidential candidate is deprived of what they allege is a humongous war chest. They also sought to achieve any one or more of the following objectives. Number one, to create a nationwide shortage of cash so that citizens are incited to vote against APC candidates across the board, resulting in massive losses for the party in all the elections. Number two, ensure that the cash crunch is so serious, along with the contrived and enduring fuel shortage existing since September 2022, that the 2023 elections do not hold at all, leading to an interim national government to be led by a retired army general. And number three, sustain the climate of shortage of fuel, food and other necessities leading to mass protests, violence and breakdown of law and order that will provide a fertile foundation for a military takeover. In the pursuit of these objectives, the Central Bank of Nigeria and these other disgruntled federal officials have so far convinced the President that it is fine for ordinary citizens to be dispossessed of their hard-earned money and starved if need be, while small and medium-sized businesses are deprived of access to their capital, thereby bringing trade and exchange to a grinding halt. All our efforts to modify implementation of the policy to avoid what we assumed were unintended consequences were unsuccessful. I chose to speak out first as one person that has been particularly close to the President, believing that his actions were motivated by innocence and mindful of his legacy. I have no regrets for doing my duty in this regard. One day, the President will appreciate what some of us are being insulted for today. Yet, the politicians that the officials have convinced the President to regard as the real targets of the currency redesign policy, have not been impeded in any way by it so far. Indeed, two of the presidential candidates and a running mate of the opposition parties own or have preferred access to some of the licensed commercial banks. For that reason, and by clandestine arrangements, these politicians have access to hundreds of millions of new notes in Naira, while the traders, merchants, students, and other citizens are queuing for days to withdraw a few thousand Naira just to buy food and necessaries. Within 2 to 3 weeks of implementation, it was very clear to everyone that the architects of this policy can see that it is our people that are being terribly affected and not the politicians. It is quite unfortunate that many politicians who either own banks or have privileged access to money in cash are so insulated from the pains of Talakawa that they are recklessly endorsing a policy that is being badly implemented. I'm referring here to the comments by the candidate of one of the opposition parties who expressed opposition to the recommendation first of the APC state governors and subsequently of all the governors under the auspices of the Nigerian Governors Forum that the implementation timeline be extended to enable old and new notes to be legal tender side by side until the cash shortage ends. My dear people of Kaduna State, let me explain how the architects of this policy intentionally designed it to fail. The total currency in circulation in Nigeria was estimated at 3.2 trillion naira at the end of 2022. According to the Central Bank of Nigeria, 2.1 trillion has so far been withdrawn as at early February. The CBN also claimed that 700 billion is the amount of cash needed for their functioning vision of a cashless Nigerian economy. The chief economic advisor to the president, Dr. Doyin Salami, disagrees with this estimate and believes that at least 2 trillion naira of currency needs to be in circulation for our economic sustainability. Other experts variously estimate this to be between 1.2 trillion and above. So the Central Bank of Nigeria number of 700 billion is not realistic. The CBN informed the president at the very beginning Kaduna State.
Because Buhari no get sense. But let me digress a little bit so that all of you can be in tune with what is really going on. You know, politicians, when you start hearing things, they will say it's rumor, just rumor. Then you will start seeing the politicians coming out to debunk the rumor. They won't call it rumor anymore. They will be debunking the allegation. Then at some point, you start seeing them defending it. And in that same manner, you still see them denying it. Is who they are. But let me digress a bit. They said from when they did their legacy parties or in APC, that they formed APC in 2014, after 2 of those 4 partners who started APC left, Rufai, being one of the arrowhead of those who are sharing, publishing, encouraging all the propaganda that emanated from the early stage of APC, Egbekegbe. You know, propaganda is like, you know, that something happened. But in order to alarm the people, you exaggerate it beyond measure. The medias, they were controlling the medias at the time. So it didn't take long, right, before they themselves started believing their lies. They now said, unfortunately, immediately that Buhari came to power, surprisingly, he just moved closer to Goodluck Egbere Jolantan and now realized that those who used all their dagger, bullet, punchy, everything, the propaganda of 2014, 2015, never seen before, that they were actually all of them with bags and baggages of crimes, corruption. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, surprisingly, Buhari now told the Daura Secret Service, EFCC, NIA, and everyone that is that he ordered to go and investigate Goodluck Egbere Jolantan. He just told them to hand off. Okay. That is when you started seeing Jonathan visiting, every smart visiting. Okay. They returned everything back that they initially like. So Jonathan won't go to prison for the corruption that the likes of Tinubu and their media told all of you. So he's not going to go to prison after all. Rather than go to prison, Buhari nominated him to be the Nigerian envoy, peace envoy, here and there, Africa, everywhere. That threw them off the balance. Okay? What is he actually up to? Anyway, like I said, it's a little bit of a digression. Because internally, they have lost Buhari a while back. That is why the only thing Buhari is interested in is Buhari. Do you understand what I'm saying? Buhari is no longer interested in anything except it is Buhari's stuff. So that gave the people that Rufai is accusing of being defeated. They defeated them in their primaries. And they are now trying to use Buhari. Even after Buhari came out to say, "Na me do am. I did it. Yes, na me talk se me fuely." They legitimize all your money. Are you with me? But the likes of Rufai, they are about to cook different propaganda, but this time around, they are dealing with a man that they believe is so dumb that he can't think for himself. I think they are about to find out too whether Buhari can think for himself, whether Buhari is the real Kaba, is the real saboteur, or some people are using him, or what they are saying. Baba, if you get teacup, bring it closer. Don't waste your time in the comment or replying anybody. Around everybody as we are talking. Here you get. Buhari, the Punisher, 7.5 years, destroyed your money, devalued your money, make your naira worthless. You know that. Now the same Buhari is now making the naira the scarcest commodity, crushing your economy. And the likes of Rufai think they can actually latch on that. And Buhari, the dumb, as they think, will eventually succumb to them. And they will come back and take control. You know what they are doing? These criminals are distancing themselves from Buhari, but they are not bold enough to say that. So Rufai declared a republic inside republic. That's the first time. You get that? Listen to this other part, because it didn't end there. Let's continue.
Not realistic. The CBN informed the president at the very beginning that the Mint, that is the Nigerian Security Printing and Minting Company, has enough capacity to print the needed currency in circulation within the 6.
There's something I needed to add there before you continue that broadcast, okay? And it's very important before I pick on something else. Buhari's federal government controls, by law, controls the Central Bank of Nigeria. By law, the president of Nigeria can order the change of currency of Nigeria without anybody's approval or consultation. By law, the president of Nigeria can do that within 24 hours, anytime he wishes. You can wake up this morning and tomorrow morning, there's another currency in circulation. It is their law, the fake 1999 constitution, the real source of these whole problems. When Yorubas were asking for restructuring, Tinubu and gang, they sowed the lies that APC, Egbekegbe, will restructure Nigeria. Remember that. And in 4 years, they denied. Tinubu and gang still came back to Yoruba land to say they have set up a new committee, APC committee, led by this same criminal, Rufai. And the committee is going to go around Nigeria and put together the restructuring plan of APC. So when Buhari wins second term, they will restructure Nigeria. Now they have just about 3 months left to go. Nigeria is still not restructured until Buhari changed money. Now look at this. There's something I want to show you. This is part of their, what do you call it? This is part of their law or electoral act, okay? Says that the president have power. The Central Bank of Nigeria have power if directed to do so by the president, and after giving reasonable notice in that behalf, to call in any of his notes or coins on payment of the face value thereof, and any note or coin with respect to which a notice has been given under this subsection shall, on the expiration of the notice, cease to be legal tender, but subject to section 22 of this act, shall be redeemed by the bank upon demand. That is what their law says. Maybe a lot of you don't even know that. You don't. Because you never actually knows anything that is going on. They do them for you, only for them to turn around and when it's about to bite them, they can bring the whole house down for it. You get that? So what Rufai is doing there is called the Palace Coup, restructuring of Nigeria. Meanwhile, Kaduna State doesn't print money. Kaduna State doesn't have any bank. And if he has any bank, he can't print any legal tender. But after the order of Buhari, that was when Rufai gave this broadcast. Let's continue, guys.
Not realistic. The CBN informed the president at the very beginning that the Mint, that is the Nigerian Security Printing and Minting Company, has enough capacity to print the needed currency in circulation within the 6-week time frame for the so-called cash swap. By its own admission, only 400 billion naira worth of new notes had been printed for the Central Bank of Nigeria as at early February. The current cash shortage was therefore designed from the beginning. The president was lied to about the domestic capacity of the Mint to print. And even if the announced 700 billion naira was printed, it would have been grossly inadequate anyway. Imagine then printing only 400 billion and making most of it unavailable to the commercial banks, but passed to favored entities through special and clandestine arrangements. How can the Central Bank of Nigeria collect 2.1 trillion from citizens and print only 400 billion? Is this not a clear case of economic sabotage? It is bad economics to so curtail economic activity and the velocity of circulation of money. It is also insensitive to deliberately cause cash shortage and then seek to instigate the public against the mostly innocent commercial banks. Even the most honest and prudent action by banks cannot magically make 400 billion to look like 2.1 trillion or have the same spread and availability like the central bank should have ensured. As a regulator, the Central Bank of Nigeria should not be seen to be setting up the banking sector as the public enemy to cover up the glaring failure in its design and implementation of the so-called cash swap policy. We have repeatedly appealed to the federal government to allow whatever remains of the old notes to circulate concurrently with the new notes. We recommended that the federal government should also hasten to ensure that more of the new notes are printed and brought into circulation. We thought that if the Nigerian Mint is incapable of printing the volume of cash needed as it appears, then necessary steps must urgently be taken to get a reliable supply source. There is no reason where the old notes and the new notes should not coexist until the old notes are gradually withdrawn over the years, as is done in the United Kingdom, Saudi Arabia, and many other countries. It is unfortunate that in implementing this policy, Nigeria is departing from global best practice without any compelling justification. The Kaduna State government did all this not in opposition to any person or authority, but because we stand with our people and their interests. When it was clear that our recommendations will not be seriously considered, the Kaduna State government decided, along with the governments of Kogi and Zamfara states, to declare a dispute with the federal government of Nigeria. In line with the provisions of the 1999 Constitution as amended, we approached the Supreme Court of Nigeria to invoke its original jurisdiction to hear us and the cries of our people. The court did on February 8th and ordered that the deadline of February 10th for all the old notes ceasing to be legal tender to be rescinded until the determination of the suit. This ruling applies to the federal government and its agencies like the Central Bank of Nigeria and indeed all commercial banks. We are grateful to the Supreme Court for this ruling, and we had hoped that compliance by the CBN and the banks would bring relief to our people. It is now clear that the architects of this policy are determined to continue to inflict maximum pain on the citizens to achieve their objectives outlined earlier. It was our hope that the federal government of Nigeria would welcome the injunction issued by the Supreme Court as an opportunity to mitigate the needless human suffering being experienced and correct its course on this matter. There is no emergency situation that justifies the rushed and seemingly deliberate incompetent execution of this policy. We suggested that compliance with the ruling would include adopting a whole-of-government approach that involves the agencies of the federal government and state governments in modifying the design, execution, and implementation of the policy. Even when confronted with the facts above, the CBN and its masters remain determined to implement their agenda no matter how much human suffering, death, and destruction results. It is clear that the architects of this policy always had objectives that are totally in conflict with public interest, peace, and the unity of Nigeria. They neither considered our suggestions in line with the court order, nor respected the unanimous resolution of the Council of State. It is also quite revealing that the federal government and its agencies not only disobeyed the February 8th ruling by continuing to say the February 10th deadline stands, it is also shocking to see the blatant violation of the subsisting and continuing order of the Supreme Court that all the old and new notes should continue to be legal tender until it gives judgment in the case filed by the Kaduna State government along with several others. The address by the President earlier this morning, limiting the legal standard status of old notes to only 200 naira, amounts to total disregard and disobedience of the ruling of February 8th, which was extended further yesterday by the Supreme Court of Nigeria. The misguided action of the Attorney General to mislead the President into engaging in this public violation of the order of the highest court of the land shows how desperate the policy architects are to cause national chaos by showing open contempt for the judiciary. The decision to recognize only 200 naira as legal tender till April that the President announced this morning was offered to the state governments as part of proposals for an out-of-court settlement 3 days ago. The federal government asserted that this was offered because all the old 1,000 naira and 500 naira notes had been destroyed. We rejected the offer and proved to the officials that not a single high denomination note had been destroyed. We also believe that circulating 200 naira only to be inadequate in alleviating the suffering that we see every day in our states. We insisted that all the components of the Supreme Court order should be complied with fully. But back home, what do we do here in Kaduna State? My dear people of Kaduna State, with the foregoing revelations, it is clear that our peaceful coexistence as a state and a nation is being placed under deliberate danger using the intentional combination of fuel and cash supply disruptions. These evil people, using the instrumentality of the federal government and the president as convenient covers, are willing to truncate our democracy because they have personally lost out. They are massively deploying resources and tools to defeat the political party that gave us all the platform to serve the country, just because they could not impose the candidates of their choice on us. Let us not help them achieve their objectives. Let us stay calm and peaceful and support the lawful means being utilized to solve our problems. On behalf of the Kaduna State government, I wish to assure you that
A lot of you are currently debating among yourselves, okay, that if he has done something right or wrong, if his action constitutes a crime in the face of Nigerian law, or if he is doing the right thing, let me save you that stress. You know what he just did, right? It's called felony, to incite the country against the order of a constituted authority. The constituted authority is the president of Nigeria, the grand commander of the Fulani Republic, right? According to your constitution. Now, if he wasn't a governor, they would have picked him up by now. You know what he said? He said, we rejected what Buhari said. And therefore, we are not going to follow that order. Because it's so obvious. There are people within Buhari's side. They are fighting back because they lost primary elections. Do you understand this now? Now, you see what you are going through? They are about to leverage on that. Okay? That's exactly what they're about to do. They will leverage on your frustration. Create more anarchy. But do you know the news I have for you? It's a good news and bad news. Whatever they do, everything works in the favor of Buhari according to your 1999 constitution. It works in his favor. Anarchy, chaos, you bring it on. And if you now think it is ideal for a governor in Nigeria who should know their own law to come out publicly and make a broadcast that everything that Buhari said, the president of the country, because Supreme Court has given a subsisting order and all of that stuff, when the chips are down, now the same Supreme Court will approve the state of emergency that will pick all of them up. Okay? He repeatedly said Buhari is disobeying court order. The same one that Buhari and gang knows how you procure them. The ones that some of the judges as we speak right now, they are going through different kind of interrogation. Tomorrow is another day, Abi. Politicians, anarchists. You hear? In order to bring you up to tune, Buhari, who also made the live broadcasts, recorded broadcast. Part of his broadcast, I'm going to play that for you. Buhari and gang. This is where I believe that frustration don't enter. Every one of you thinking this is a strategy. You probably are not as smart as you think you are. Let's get serious here. I'm not trying to say, I'm not asking you to begin to make things up, okay? Let's use the pieces of information that we have, right, to project something that is realistic. You did hear so? A lot of you that believes that this is just a show and all that, you have no idea, because this is where I strongly believe pressure tiwa. The moment El Rufai started mentioning interim national government, coup, and all of that words, right, in the same broadcast, it simply means there is already ongoing palace coup, and some of you are not prepared for what is coming. But you know why I said that it's going to be in favor of Buhari? The Nigeria 1999 constitution gives him power to postpone Nigeria election for first 6 months, then another 6 months, and another 6 months, until he is satisfied that it is now conducive and suitable to conduct election. Or they can also put interim national government. El Rufai has said that those who are fighting them, the Boko Haram's gang, they want power to remain in northern Nigeria. So if you have to do election, Atiku is going to be their favorite, and they are dismantling the supposed armory of the APC governor. So if they are screaming out, I'm asking you to believe them. But what did Boko Haram really say? The order that they said Boko Haram is speaking from the angle of a dumb man. Remember that for years, people have predicted all of these scenarios. There will be no election. There will be so much chaos in Nigeria. Boko Haram is going to disappear on you when the final wahala starts. Tinubu won't be president. There won't be president because there won't be election. Now, what El Rufai has said is that in all of these plots, if you do election, it will be a thief coup. If you don't do election, if now government of interim government to ward off the military coup, Buratai the Butcher is going to be the head of the interim transitional government that we then have to think of when to conduct elections in Nigeria. The last one is that they didn't give names. They said the military coup is also in the book. My Lafia, you remember that man, later My Lafia, who told you this? You condemned him, you called him a madman. You said, well, now the politicians are about to make that happen, and it's all happening right before our very eyes. What did Boko Haram tell them when he made that broadcast of 200 naira as the highest denomination of all their currency that will be allowed for another 60 days in Nigeria? I'll give you a copy of that again, please. Listen, then we'll go back to El Rufai again. Then we'll go to the streets and show you how far they are doing with their organized violent protest. A lot of you are going through hell right now, where it is orchestrated. Boko Haram intentionally will make even that 200 naira unavailable. Do you understand? Now, this is when you are going to know that when a problem lasted more than 48 hours, the government is involved. The problem of Nigeria under APC, Egbekegbe lasted for nearly 8 years now. Don't let anybody lie to you that they are on your side. They are not. What did Boko Haram say yesterday? This
was the process of implementation of the new monetary policy. I am deeply pained and sincerely sympathize with you all over these unintended outcomes. To stem this tide, I have directed the CBN to deploy all legitimate resources and legal means to ensure that our citizens are adequately educated on the policy, enjoy easy access to cash withdrawal through availability of appropriate amount of currency and the ability to make deposits. I have similarly directed the CBN should intensify collaboration with anti-corruption agencies so as to ensure that any institution or persons found to have impeded or sabotaged the implementation should be made to bear the full weight of the law. During the extended phase of the deadline for currency swap, I listened to invaluable pieces of advice from well-meaning citizens and institutions across the nation. I similarly consulted widely with representatives of the state governors as well as the Council of State. Above all, as an administration that respects the rule of law, I have also noted that the subject matter is before the courts of our land and some pronouncements have been made. To further ease the supply pressures, particularly to our citizens, I have given approval to the CBN that the old 200 naira banknote be released back into circulation and that it should also be allowed to circulate as legal tender with the new 200 naira, 500 naira, and 1,000 naira banknotes for 60 days from February 10th, 2023 to April 10th, 2023, when the old 200 naira note ceases to be legal tender. In line with Section 20, subsection 3 of the CBN Act 2007, all existing old 1,000 naira and 500 naira notes remain redeemable at CBN and designated points. Considering the health of our economy and the legacy we must bequeath to the next administration and future generations of Nigerians, I admonish every citizen to strive harder to make their deposits by taking advantage of the platforms and windows being provided by the CBN. Let me assure Nigerians that our administration will continue to assess the implementation with a view to ensuring that Nigerians are not unnecessarily burdened. In this regard, the CBN shall ensure that new notes become more available and accessible to our citizens through the banks. I wish to once more appeal for your understanding till we overcome this difficult transient phase within the shortest possible time. Fellow citizens, on the 25th of February 2023, the nation will be electing a new president and National Assembly members. I am aware that this new monetary policy has also contributed immensely to the minimization of the influence of money in politics. This is a positive departure from the past and represents a bold legacy step by this administration towards laying a strong foundation for free and fair elections. I urge every citizen, therefore, to go out to vote for their candidates of choice without fear, because security shall be provided and your vote shall count. I, however, admonish you to eschew violence and avoid actions capable of disrupting the electoral.
That's Buhari. See, there are some of you, okay, who I will keep reminding you, right, that when I share my view, okay, they are not necessarily going to be your view. They don't have to be yours. Do you get that now? The reason is because you always have your own, I believe you should always have your own independent mind, right? And I don't really question all of that, okay? So when I say my mind, you can feel like, no, it's all nonsense. I'm okay with that. It's just that if you can't tell us, if you can show us what is not nonsense, then that may make it even better for the people that you are trying to convince that something is real or is not real. Okay? So I am not here to convince you. Are you with me? So I've seen some of you dropping your usual comments. Okay? Buhari is dead. And there's some of you are sending me this tricky question. Mayegun, why do you believe that Buhari is alive? The point is that because Buhari is the person that just spoke to you now. But listen. Okay? If believing that Buhari is dead makes you sleep well at night, please, I'm not questioning that your belief. But don't try, okay? Don't try to want me to believe what you think is true, which is not. But again, to me, so if it makes you sleep well at night, all right? If you feel like you sleep well, I mean, Buhari is dead and all of that. See, Baba, keep it. You don't have to fight anybody over that. You are calling people out there, Mumu and the rest of them, Abi, because they believe that's Buhari. You don't. Fine. He's dead in 2017, buried in Saudi Arabia, somewhere in Saudi Arabia. Okay, fine. I mean, if it makes you feel better, don't work yourself up too much, okay? Do you understand? Don't. I mean, well, if you think that somehow that doesn't make you feel better because Mayegun is not saying it, that means you are now trying to, like, you know what I mean, force it on me in a way that you can then possibly like start abusing Mayegun and other. But again, if that also makes you feel better, Baba, say go be very fine. Does that solve it? You don't have to fight or kill yourself on social media because we want somebody to believe that Buhari is buried. Because Mazi Nnamdi Kanu said Buhari was buried in Saudi Arabia, then it must be true. Don't take it personal, okay? Because some of us never believed it, and we never believe it. But if you can actually, like, you know what I mean, send your drone, even if they have security around where they buried him in Saudi Arabia, and they won't allow anybody to get there.